Hey guys, welcome to GCT, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today's Relationship Drama Friday, where we can just sit back and enjoy the tea. Unless you posted to Reddit recently. My mother-in-law doesn't let me have sex with my husband, posted by a throwaway account. My husband and I got married a year ago. He and I didn't live together before. In fact, we hardly saw each other because we both worked and studied at the same time, so our time was quite limited. We got married and went to live in his apartment. Unfortunately, 2 months after our wedding, his father died in an accident. My mother-in-law and my husband, who is an only child, were devastated as it was quite sudden. My mother-in-law, left alone, began to suggest to my husband that we move in with her to her house to keep her company. But because she's from another state, we couldn't due to our jobs and college. Then she came to us. Our apartment is 2 rooms, so my mother-in-law occupied one and my husband and I occupied another. My mother-in-law never liked me. She's one of those mothers who thinks that no woman is ever gonna be good enough for a son. As a couple who was still in the honeymoon stage, we had sex very frequently. Every day, even up to twice a day. This changed when my mother-in-law arrived. Since the apartment is small, I don't feel comfortable doing it with her living there. The thing is that when we did have sex, my mother-in-law magically interrupted us. It didn't matter what time it was. Even if it was 3 a.m., she casually got up and knocked on our door asking, "What are we doing?" Or telling my husband that she feels bad because her head hurts, or things like that. This has been going on since my mother-in-law moved in with us. It's been a stressful 7 months. Besides, I have no privacy of any kind. She criticizes everything I do, especially my food. My husband tries to give me my place, saying things like, "That's not true, mother. The food tastes good." But what really annoyed me was the fact that she started saying that several things of value and money were lost in her room casually the day I stayed at home. I had the day off from work and study in the afternoons. I got really fed up and I told my husband that this was really not what I expected. I agreed to let her move in with us because father-in-law passed away and I was really trying to be empathetic to her and her pain, but I'm not going to let her call me a thief. Now I'm at my parents' house. My husband keeps calling me and sending me messages to come back, but I don't know what to do anymore. This is really stressful. Down in the comments, everyone's suggesting that they have obnoxiously loud sex whenever she tries to interrupt them. Or, when she asks what they're doing, make eye contact and say, "I'm effing your son's brains out." I found out after 13 years that my wife lied to me at the beginning of our relationship. How can I let this go? Our next story comes from the Relationship Advice subreddit, posted by a throwaway account. I, 34 male, have been in a relationship with my wife, 33 female, for 13 years, married for 8. We haven't had any major fights. We've always gotten along well, only respectful discussions when we happen to disagree on something. I love her very much, and I can't imagine my life without her. However, just last week, I discovered that my wife lied to me about her being with other people at the start of our relationship. Here's the backstory. We were friends during our time at university. She'd just broken up with her toxic and abusive ex at that time. We hung out with other friends frequently, going to bars and had a great connection. About 2 months after a breakup, we went to a concert together, where we kissed. After that, we started going out just the 2 of us quite often, and it was clear to me that I was falling for her. At that point, we hadn't explicitly discussed whether we were exclusive or not. To be honest, I assumed that she was seeing other people, given that we were young and in college, and I thought it was normal for her to explore other relationships after a recent breakup. It's important to note that I wasn't dating anyone else during this time. My choice, I didn't tell her, and I wasn't expecting her to do the same. As our relationship progressed, I asked her to be my girlfriend, which she happily accepted. We became exclusive at that point. We're both a bit forgetful when it comes to dates, so sometime later, I realized that I couldn't recall the exact date that I asked her to be my girlfriend. I approached her, and she couldn't remember either. We both laughed at ourselves and tried to guess the date. She then suggested, why don't we consider the date of our first kiss as the start? I thought it was a perfect idea, but I also pointed out that we weren't exclusive back then, so if she dated other people after that, it might be a bit awkward for me. She then told me that after that day, she hadn't kissed, hooked up with, or gone out with anyone else because she was already in love with me. I was overjoyed by this revelation, and it only deepened my feelings for her. However, last week, while at a family barbecue gathering at her mother's house, her brother mentioned how relieved he was that I was his brother-in-law instead of that idiot Robert, fake name. He recalled seeing them going out together once and was glad when we announced our relationship to the family. I immediately sensed my wife's discomfort, and it was clear that she felt caught. Later, when we were back home, I asked her about Robert, and she revealed that he was someone she'd gone out with a few times after a breakup with her ex. I asked her if she'd continued seeing him after our kiss at the concert, and she confirmed that she had. When I pressed further, she admitted that they'd also had sex. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions, akin to feeling cheated, even though we weren't explicitly exclusive at that time. It made me question my reaction, and I felt somewhat ridiculous for feeling this way. She apologized, explaining that she hadn't disclosed this information out of fear of losing me due to a casual encounter she'd had after we'd become involved. I reassured her that I understood that we hadn't been exclusive and I wouldn't have been bothered by it if she'd been honest from the beginning. However, I admitted that I was now grappling with the fact that she'd kept this from me for all these years. She is deeply remorseful and constantly worries that I might leave her, which I have no intention of doing. Nevertheless, I find myself struggling to overcome these mixed emotions. I feel like I shouldn't be upset about something like this, but I can't control the way I feel. How do I move past this? Edit. There are a lot of questions asking, how does her brother know about it if it was just a casual hookup? They knew each other before, they took a Spanish course together, and her brother always thought that Robert was an a-hole and never liked him. He saw my wife and Robert going out once when he was out with his own girlfriend, who is now his wife, and thought, please God help me, not that guy, anyone besides him. There's also a lot of people saying, why are you throwing away 13 years of marriage because of ... I am not throwing away anything. I came here looking for advice on how to get past it. How do I deal with it? Yes, I do therapy, and I'm dealing with this in therapy, but it's not been easy on me. So I came to the internet looking for advice. Probably a mistake. Down in the comments, Stormy says, sounds like a dumb thing a 20-year-old says because they're embarrassed, then never fixes because they feel too guilty over something stupid. If this is the worst thing she's ever done to you, I'd say it's pretty safe to let it go and move on. Honestly, I agree with this. She didn't actually cheat, and while she shouldn't have lied, it seems pretty minor, especially given her remorse. The fact that you picked up on her discomfort immediately suggests lying isn't a habit for her. I'm sorry for having a brain disorder. Our last story comes from the Petty Revenge subreddit, posted by Winker a Tick. This happened when I was 20. At the time, I was living with my ex, and he thought it was perfectly acceptable to invite his ex-girlfriend into our home without telling me, because they had some catching up to do or whatever. I was not, and I'm still not a confrontational person, although I do try to stand up for myself a bit more now. Anyway, while I'm in my sweaty PJs after housework with my hair in a bun, this girl comes in, and she and my boyfriend go and sit on the couch together. Strike 1. He offers her a cup of tea, but ignores me. Strike 2. He makes her a cigarette, but ignores me. And strike 3. He continually cuts me off and focuses only on what this girl is saying. Then he goes to the kitchen, and I try to make small talk. I ask her about herself, if she works or is a student or a homemaker. I'm polite and smiling. And what does this bitch do? She shushes me. Actually puts her finger on her lips and says, shush, in my own home. So I sit back and I'm trying to breathe. My jaw is clenched, my eye is twitching, and out walks my ex, oblivious to everything. She goes up to the bathroom while my ex is staring out of the window, stoned out of his mind. I put my cigarette ash into her open bag. I accidentally knocked the ashtray into her handbag as my arm ticks out. I have Tourette's and it was 100% an accident, but subconsciously, thank you, Tourette's. Down in the comments, OP explains how she reacted to the ashtray being knocked into her bag. I actually don't remember too much, but we explained that I had Tourette's and it was an accident. But she stormed out of there pretty quickly after a few curse words in my direction. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.